But one of the things that I've noticed over the couple of decades that I've been teaching the drums is, and well, music in general, beginners, it's often the coordination, the mechanics, the physicality of it, trying to figure that out to get it to sound decent. But for an intermediate to get to an advanced player, it's more about the mental side of things than it is the actual like chops and the physicality of it. Yes, you're always going to refine your technique and improve your chops endurance, blah, 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 blah. But it becomes more about the consistency to get from an intermediate to an advanced player. Because you can be an intermediate player who's got a ton of chops, but can't play the same passage the same way twice in a row. And that's what's going to separate you from the advanced player. So when you're playing, really focus on the mental side of things, on staying as in the zone as possible, as consistent as possible with what you're doing, rather than just focusing on playing fast all the time and not really caring how it sounds. At least when it comes to rudimental stuff. When it comes to drum kit, you can get away with it because you're the only one playing on the kit, so it doesn't matter if you don't sound like the person next to you because there is no person next to you. It's just you playing by yourself. Success is not a result of knowing something that 99% of people don't know. It's found by doing the things that 99% of people aren't willing to do. This is a paraphrase quote from Alex Hormozy. The way that I got better as a performer was spending my time working on the 99% of things that people are not willing to actually invest their time on. I did not get better by just sitting there and playing the things I'm good at and playing things fast. You really got to slow it down. You really got to break it down. And you really got to just like focus on what are the areas that I'm not good at. Feels good to get so many chut cheeses in this early in the morning. Doesn't feel good to play attacks like that though. Cool thing about these play-alongs is you can go even faster or slower if you wanted to. I mean, slow it down, whatever. I am using a floppy wrist as opposed to if you have a straight wrist, that as opposed to this. If you're doing this where you're squeezing the index and the thumb, then your wrist cannot bend. But if you relax that, have less pressure there and just kind of gently hold it there, then your wrist is able to move. That's the technique that I go for. But again, there's a billion ways to play. So there's affordances and constraints for all of them. So for this, you can't play as fast as if you use a finger technique or like a finger French, etc. But you can still play really fast this way. It's just more relaxed than if you use finger only. Also, you get more power if you do wrist. However, I use finger if I'm playing really, really fast. It's not like you have to choose one or the other. You can combine them. Like I even have a little bit of a rotary motion with my match grip from rotary French timpani. And I apply that into my rudimental stuff and it makes it so there's more power and it's faster. So many ways to play. Under the lessons, tips and whatnot, if you look at timestamps in this, I actually show you what I worked on and how long I worked on it. Starting at 18 minutes and 20 seconds, I started refining the 5 strokes. And it wasn't until 57 minutes when I actually started chopping out. So that's a significant portion of the stream. Like if you look at this percentage breakdown, just working on the 5-stroke timing. And you'll notice that when I was doing this, I was practicing it. I showed at 120 to show what it looked like. And then I was just going up a little bit at a time. So it's now at 42, 44. And so I spent the majority of my time in the 40s and the 50s for this stream. And then at the very end, I chopped out on something just for fun. The thing with practicing is it's boring. Like, it's a grind, and that's okay. That's how you get better. So as long as you can like find ways to enjoy that process, then eventually you'll break past that 110 barrier. Unpopular opinion, but most of the 40 essential rudiments are not very essential in my opinion. I don't play triplet rhythm-accused like ever, whether it's concert percussion or rudimental, don't really use most of the stuff on there. How many of the 40 essential do you actually use? I mean, most of it is like rolls and whatnot, but you're just counting how long the roll is. I wouldn't really call each of those their own unique rudiment, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree with me. Whenever you are at a gig or at a show or whatever, and you are unable to like physically warm up on your drums, one of the ways that you can do it is just like knocking or even just like playing on your chest and just go through your exercises. This is great for drum kit, but it's also great for rudimental stuff. So back when I used to teach drumline, if we didn't have the opportunity to warm up in the lot, like if the bus broke down or something, like we would just warm up, play through the show music with our wrists, and that got the blood flowing, got our hands nice and loose, etc. So I highly recommend doing that. So I've talked to a lot of other musicians, and especially percussionists, who talk about how they don't like performing, but they like practicing. And that's something that really resonates with me. I always really enjoyed practicing, like that grind. But the performance side of things was nerve-wracking at times, or just not like the thing that I enjoyed the most. It wasn't very calming. But what's been interesting about like doing these live streams where I am just practicing and kind of like talking through like how I'm trying to improve and whatnot, it's kind of combined the two in an interesting way where like I enjoy so-called performing now, and it's while I'm also practicing. So this has been a very unique journey since I started doing this a little over a year ago. It's fun. I dig it. Recommend it for anyone who's interested in kind of sharing their journey through just continuing to practice. Just because I've been playing for 20 years doesn't mean I've got nothing to work on. My dog is being a goofball. She's distracting. I love her. Every now and then, folks, you got to test out gravity. Make sure it's still working. It's working great. The thing that I was noticing was tightening up was not just my hands, but also my jaw. So really make sure that when you're focusing on trying to stay nice and relaxed when playing something faster, that it's your entire body that's relaxed, that it's not just your fingers and your hands that you're focusing on, or your wrists and your forearms, but like everything. Like oddly enough, my jaw was tightening up while doing that. So you may have noticed midway through that, I just like loosened it up. Kind of went with the look. It's the official name for that look, in case anyone is wondering. Don't ask me how to spell it. I'm not a great speller. What's cool about percussion is like there's so many different techniques and whatnot that people can use. And in fact, I get a ton of comments. I actually got one this weekend of people who are very opinionated about like different ways of playing. And so on these streams when I'm just kind of like sharing, here's an idea. It's like one of like 100 ways that you could potentially play or even describe something. So it's fascinating like how much people just like pick apart. You described it this way. That's not how you're supposed to describe it. And it's like, dude, I can describe it a dozen different ways. This is the second half of Blue Coat Susie variation. But the second half of this exercise is actually a book report variant. The weirdest part is at the very end, where you'd normally play cheese inverts. You can find this play along and hundreds more at the link on the screen.